I will figure out how to get music and everything to that intro and everything. Oh, look at that. My intro's still there. I guess until I take it off. And then there we go. Oh, we put me in. I'm learning StreamYards. So we're going to talk. There's quite a few things to talk about. Today on the Gypsy Rose subject. First of all, I've been saying this. And it's the unpopular opinion, I know. But let's review real quick. Well, Nina started out calling herself a beauty influencer, and she was doing some makeup and some facial things. And then when Gypsy Rose came along, that slowly started to fade away. Nina said that she likes to gossip with her girlfriends in real life, and she decided to start doing it on TikTok. She's not much of a beauty influencer though, because she just does her standard makeup. I mean, she might change her lipstick color. And her hair color and style. But for the rest of her makeup, it's pretty standard. I've seen like a lot of other influencers that constantly change their makeup and whatnot. Come on up, Hannah. Let's see. Oh, I need to put in my earbuds so I can hear you, Hannah. Give me a sec. Huh? Oh, no, family comes first, but thanks for letting me know. Yeah, family comes first. Yeah. I think Gypsy's biggest mistake she made is she thinks she's a mean girl. Gypsy does. She thinks she's a mean girl. She's trying to be a mean girl. But she ran into the ultimate mean girl who's been doing it her whole life. She never should have privately messaged Nina. She should have left Nina alone. She should have never got in touch with her, tried to reason with her, or anything. Because Nina was honest in the beginning when she said, Gypsy, change your actions and show it. I'll give you some grace. And when Gypsy didn't, and basically backstabbed Nina, and now, you know what you got? You got rumors. There is no Steve. There is no pregnancy. These are all photoshopped. These are all somebody playing around. I don't know if it's Nina. I don't know if it's one of her fans. Mixture of both. All I know is Mean Girls and Facebook do not mix. That's why I quit Facebook years ago, because my sister-in-laws and stuff are mean girls. I don't do Facebook. I don't do mean girls. I don't do gossip and I don't do rumors. I don't believe the Steve rumors. I do believe Ken when he says, go ahead, Steve, bring it on. Bring on the photo books, the memories, whatever. Show the receipts, show the proof, and then I'll admit it. Because he knows there's no proof in there. And that's how I would handle a rumor. I'd be like, prove it. Give me your receipts. I think Ken handled it well. Everybody's like, no, Ken and Gypsy are liars. And it's like, no. I mean, they are liars. But you don't bring on a challenge like that if you know the receipts are out there. I've tried to look up a Steve Wood in Dallas. Like I said, I found a lawyer. I found a lawyer out there, not a bartender. I found a lawyer. I'm like, you need a lawyer named Steve Wood? There's a lawyer out there in Dallas named Steve Wood. But so hopefully these stupid rumors start dying down, because everybody's hopping on these pregnancy rumors and these gay rumors, and they're not very nice. Because first of all, there are people out there that struggle with getting pregnant. And you're out here rubbing it in people's faces, this pregnancy rumor. It's kind of funny that this fake Steve was there to say Ken told him about the pregnancy. So that's why I didn't believe Steve in the first place, because Nina's trying to prove this pregnancy rumor, and then all of a sudden Steve comes along to back it up. That's why I left Facebook. Rumors are dumb. Facebook is full of rumors. You don't believe anything that floats on Facebook. Anything. I've been on Facebook since it was created. Somebody else said that you do. Yes, hello Starlight on Sir Morbid's last night. Because me and hello Starlight, we know Facebook. I've been on Facebook since its creation. I was on Facebook before it became popular. I was one of the first few to migrate from MySpace to Facebook, because two of my friends said, "Rose, I won't talk to you unless you're on Facebook. We can't stand MySpace. It's too complicated." So I came over to Facebook just to keep in touch with two really close friends of me and my husband's. But man, was Facebook brutal when everybody came over. The rumors, the nasty stuff people were saying. Thank you guys for liking this live. I appreciate that. Like, oh my gosh, like Facebook is horrible. Like, you don't believe anything on Facebook ever. And with Photoshop nowadays, it's even harder. Like, you got to really prove what you're saying on Facebook. You got to really prove it. So yeah, I got the unpopular opinion, but Nina's just a mean girl. Gypsy met the ultimate mean girl, mean gossip girl. And now she's paying, that's her karma price. Her karma isn't the baby. Her karma isn't Steve. Her karma is she met the ultimate mean girl. She clashed, and she should have never messaged Nina, because now she made Nina popular. Should have never clapped. She should have just, I told Gypsy in the beginning, when I first started making these videos, you got 7 million people that love you. Doesn't matter if 1 million hate you. Quit focusing on the haters. You're gonna ruin yourself. She did, because she wouldn't leave the haters alone. Nina was one of her biggest haters, and she kept trying to mess with Nina. And now all she did was make her popular, put her out there on TMZ. And now the ultimate mean girl, mean gossip girl, is on TMZ and hugely humongously popular now. It's like, thank you. You just gave her a shit ton of popularity, by the way. Whatever. That's her karma. You're gonna play mean girl, you're gonna meet other mean girls, and Gypsy, there are way far better mean girls out there than you that have been doing this so much longer than you. Her inmates said she tried to play mean girl also in prison. She's trying to be that Regina George, but she's not, Gypsy's not slow. She's smart. But she is, I do believe she is a sociopath, because I do believe that she does have some social problems. Which sociopaths do. Sociopaths try and play in society, and they always fail. because they're very awkward when it comes to society and rules in society and how to play in society. But I was thinking, everybody was talking about, so there's this Steve rumor going around, and why did Ken leave Gypsy while she was in prison? And was it for another girl? Was it for another guy? What was it for? But people have also been talking about how Ken is a playboy. This is what I'm thinking. This is my thought of why um Ken left Gypsy in prison, because people started figuring out where he worked, where he lived. People started figuring. See, the internet is some of the smartest detectives in the world. They might be better than some of our paid detectives out there. People on the internet will dig up everything and anything, okay? I think Ken couldn't keep it in his pants for 3 more years for Gypsy. He knew that he was going to have to wait to, if he married her. And I think he was willing to kind of do it until he realized that people were going to figure out that he was cheating on Gypsy and tell her. And so I think he left her without an explanation, because he's not going to stay celibate for 3 years. No, 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 no. And usually, if you date someone in prison, they're never going to find out that you're cheating, except for the fact that Gypsy Rose, well, she's Gypsy Rose, she's popular. She already had fans out there while she was in prison that loved her and was looking out for her. And they were starting to follow Ken. And Ken knew he was going to get caught. And it was just better to ditch her and wait for her to get out. I mean, he knew she was marrying Ryan. So all that was a bullshit lie. Oh, that he told Christy, oh, well, if I knew she was going to marry somebody else. Gypsy called you a week before the wedding, Ken. You didn't answer. You hung up on her. You knew you weren't going to respect their marriage. You knew you were just going to wait till she got out. And, oh my gosh, you played that cliche. You're just like Gypsy. You played that cliche. If you love them, set them free. Because I find it offensive that Gypsy was like, I was hoping, like a week before I got out, Ken would come to me and say, okay, Gypsy. It's like, dude, you're married. Why are you still fantasizing about Ken running to you a week before you got out if you're married to Ryan? So have you always been planning to leave Ryan the second Ken said, I'm ready for you, Gypsy? It's just you had to finish your media tour. You had to finish going blonde and getting your nose job and getting ready for Ken before you ditched Ryan. Well, no, you did the nose job after, I guess, after you left Ryan. But I think Ken is a playboy. I don't think he's a gay playboy. I don't think he's a bi playboy. I think he's just a playboy. He's a bartender. He's a playboy. He's a young bartender. He's a young little playboy. I think he was gonna get caught. I think he knew the internet was on to him. It was better to leave Gypsy and come for her later with your lovely little cliches and lies. You know how Gypsy loves a good cliche, right? It's funny that Steve spoke in cliches too. And he also said, just saying it for a friend, which is one of Nina's like popular phrases that she says too. Too many like weird phrases in there, cliches, lies, and what else was I thinking about Gypsy? I should have wrote it all down. I kept telling myself, Rose, every time you have a thought, just write down a little note that'll make you remember that thought again so we can go over it on stream. Oh yeah, I found some old I've been trying to find as many old newspaper articles as possible. I have been. Um let's see. Okay. Whoops. Okay. All right. Let me see how to do this. Let me see if I can do this. Let's look at some. I found some old articles that seem kind of interesting. Let's see, why is the screen share not moving with me? Let's see, I found some, let's see. Is it this one? Is it this one? Yeah, it's this one. Let's see, is it moving with me? Oh, okay, here we go. Yeah, I found some old articles that just have some interesting tidbits here and there in them. Because these are from 2019. I'm trying to find articles while Gypsy was in prison and fresh after the unaliving, because I want to know what the neighbors and everybody said fresh after all of this happened. Because the truth is somewhere in there. And we do have one where Aaliyah speaks. Let's see. So it says Gypsy Rose says that her mother was very protective. See, this is why the unaliving had to happen. Because she's like, okay, my mom was very protective. I think that she was sick in her mind for a long time. I believed, like, we were best friends. And when I was younger, she was my best friend, other than my stuffed animals. And also, I thought that she was a great mother. No complaints. We got along so perfect. I saw her as an angel that could do no wrong. Until Gypsy wanted to have boyfriends. But see, they keep referring to Nick in these newspapers because Gypsy keeps trying to put it off that Nick was her first and only boyfriend at this time. Dan is the wedge that came between Dee Dee and Gypsy. Dan's the wedge. It wasn't Nick. There is, because I'm trying to find that magazine article that Toddy One Skip read that said, I mean, Leah tried to talk Gypsy out of, let's see, and let me see if I can find that. Leah talks about trying to talk Gypsy out of, okay, I'm getting this. I'm figuring out StreamYards. I'm figuring you out, StreamYards. I gotcha. This is the one that talks about the Blanchard family suing Hulu for the act. And Fancy Maselli's in this article speaking for the Blanchard family. They're going to look into their rights and see if they can sue them, because what happened was Michelle Dean wrote a BuzzFeed article about Gypsy. They participated and helped her write that. Then they were talking about the act and the Hulu. What I think happened, here's what I think happened, and I said this on an earlier video, I think too, was that Gypsy and Christy wanted money prior to the filming of the act. They didn't want to wait till the act came out and the profits were made. And so when Joey King wanted to meet with Gypsy, she said no. Because why did Gypsy, if they were planning on getting money and working with Hulu, and Michelle Dean asked if Gypsy could meet with Joey King, why did Gypsy turn Joey King down? Why did Christy turn Joey King down? Why did they turn Colin Worthy down? Why did they turn all these actors down that needed to meet them to play their roles? So they had to learn their roles off of old videos of Gypsy and what Michelle Dean had to say about the case. And so I think when they turned down talking to Joey King and stopped working with Michelle Dean, because Christy in this article says, I reached out to Michelle. She blocked me on everything, including Instagram and Facebook. Christy Blanchard told the news leader late Friday, I sent her a voicemail. Hi, how you doing? Nothing rude. And when she called my phone back, she recognized it was Louisiana. She hung up the phone right away. That call took place back in September. The family also sent Hulu a certified letter, which was returned unopened, they say. We're looking into what legal rights would be, says Francesca Maselli, a screenwriter that the Blanchards are working with to develop a rival TV drama dubbed By Proxy. I have the legal life rights to the story, and I am the only person who has the official story from all sides, Maselli said. I'm even working with the Go-to-Johns at this point. So there you got a quote from Fancy Maselli, who has the life rights, who has all the info. She's gathering it from all sides, the Blanchards, the Go-to-Johns, everybody involved in this. But then the falling out happened as soon as the interrogation videos were, as soon as Fancy finally got a hold of the interrogation videos, she realized she was being lied to. That there was no abuse and there was no Munchausen by proxy. And Gypsy's quote is, I feel it's very unfair and unprofessional that producers and co producer Michelle Dean has used my actual name and story without my consent, and the life rights to do so. Therefore, there will be legal action taken against the show's creators. I want to share my story and bring awareness about Munchausen by proxy in hopes that I can encourage those who might be experiencing abuse to speak up because someone will listen. No child should ever be abused, especially by their parent. Well, and if things didn't work out with Fancy and the Blanchards, they said there was other people they were working with. Why did their I think after Mommy, Dead, and Dearest and The Act, nobody wanted to keep making movies about this case. Like, I think everybody was like, "All right, there's plenty out about the case." I think everybody else was like, "Yeah, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this." The bizarre case of Mommy, Dead, and Dearest. Let me see. Things are not always as they appear. Let's see. What is this? What was in here that I liked? Dee Dee Blanchard emerged as the villain in this case, having inflicted mental and physical abuse on her daughter to create phantom medical conditions. Although the medical records prove that all the tests came out normal and nothing further happened. The only surgeries that Gypsy did have had to do with that chromosome disorder. The eyes, the salivary glands, all of that is related to that chromosome disorder that I can never remember it's like minus Q.21 something. I don't know. Yeah, see, the case against Gypsy Rose Blanchard has been adjudicated, which means a lot of stuff got changed and hidden, and facts were messed with, and things got suppressed. So the judge only heard the bare minimum. Basically, when you adjudicate your case, the judge hears the bare minimum of what the prosecution and the defense side both decide is fair for the judge to hear. The funny thing is, it says one unexplored question is how Dee Dee Blanchard could have convinced what seems to be a string of medical professionals that Gypsy suffered from so many maladies. See, that's why streamers are out here doing this, trying to show you the medical records and show you that Dee Dee fooled nobody. The doctors tried to get Gypsy to walk. The doctors didn't believe them. They did a tiny bit of doctor shopping, not really. And one doctor helped him out with the fraud, the one that looks like Dee Dee's, that looks like he could be Gypsy's dad. The one that they met in Louisiana, the reason why they moved to Missouri, and Dee Dee was even planning on moving to Florida because he had moved to Florida. And He was the only one that was helping them with the fraud. It's funny, this is a quote from Mike Stanfield, Gypsy's lawyer. Mind boggling is the only way I can put her ability to manipulate people. It's funny because Mike Stanfield is like, I don't know, it's mind boggling, but whatever, it's a good defense, right? This one's that one that I think what happened was is Dee Dee knew that Nick was coming to the movie theater, and she did get jealous because, see, Gypsy and Dee Dee are best friends. And Dee Dee, yeah, she had a hard time watching Gypsy move on, but she didn't hate Nick. She wanted to, I think she wanted Gypsy to share the attention. I think she wanted Nick. I think Dee Dee might have expected um Gypsy and Nick. Like Nick was just gonna slide in and become Dee Dee's new best friend too. And Dee Dee was gonna have two best friends, her daughter and her daughter's boyfriend. But she saw how they were off to the side doing their own little thing. And they excluded Dee Dee. Dee Dee wanted complete inclusion, is what I think. I don't think she hated Nick. I think my thing, what I think happened is I think she did brag to the neighbors about Nick. I think she wanted Nick to move into the pink house. I think she wanted Nick and Gypsy to take care of her. But see, if that happened though, when Gypsy leaves the house, she would have to still leave the house in her wheelchair because the neighbors can't see Gypsy walk. And there's nothing that and also remember Gypsy is terminally ill too. She's supposed to die any day now. And now she's making it to adulthood and she's not dead. Gypsy was supposed to die somewhere in her teen years, according to Dee Dee. She had everybody's sympathy because her daughter was terminally ill and could die at any time. And she wasn't. And I think Dee Dee was like, we can still carry on this. We can still just bring Nick into it. We'll figure out a way. We'll bring Nick into it. Because Dee Dee, at this point in 2015, was the ill one. Dee Dee had been to the hospital multiple times at this point. Emergencies, or she drove herself, or emergencies, and the ambulance came and took her. But at this point, Gypsy was taking care of her mom at this point. She was the terminally ill one. Or well, yeah. Well, but not terminally ill enough. And I shouldn't say that. Because Gypsy was like, I don't want to take care of my mom. She's gonna live till she's like 70. That's what happens when you're an only child and your parents are divorced. Dee Dee should have got out there and dated, got over Rod. She wouldn't get over Rod. I think she kept trying to steal Rod from Chrissy. I think she thought, I can still do this. I can still steal Rod from Chrissy. I can win this. Because before Dee Dee got pregnant with Gypsy, Chrissy, Dee Dee, and the Nicolette's mother all knew each other. This was a very small town. They all worked in the same hospital on the same ward. And they were all sleeping with the same man. It's a very small town. They were all sleeping with Rod. Except for Nicolette's mom gave up right away. Went and married somebody else. And on Nicolette's 8th birthday, Christy's like, oh, wouldn't it be nice present for her if you just signed the papers and gave her to her? Let the guy that's raising her adopt her. Because Nicolette didn't know that Rod's her dad. She always thought this other guy was her dad. It's a crazy beginnings. And I think Dee Dee never stopped trying to until Hurricane Katrina. I think she planned on staying around family, staying around Rod. I think she planned on I think the reason why she said Gypsy was terminally ill was that because Rod ignored Nicolette. He didn't care. The only kids he cared about was the ones he had with Christy, except for Gypsy because she was sick. It wasn't about Munchausen by proxy. It was about trying to steal Rod back. Because you need to spend as much time with your terminally ill daughter as possible before she goes. I think the whole medical fraud was about keeping Rod around. It was getting her money, it was getting her attention, it was keeping Rod around, it was getting Rod's attention. See, I love this quote. Here's this quote right here. It wasn't because I hated her. It was because I wanted to escape her, is what Gypsy says. I didn't hate my mom. I just wanted to escape her. And it's so funny how she shows no remorse. Nick cried. It's the brownie video, unfortunately, doesn't show Nick crying. She's like, look, I'm recording this, Nick. You're eating a brownie. And now you're gonna eat me. And it made him laugh and stop crying. When she's like, I'm recording this. You can't cry. I'm recording this. And so there's a lot of things in between the lines of what we see. Because in Nick's interrogation, he not only tells the officer, I feel more than guilty for what I did, but he also, when he's by himself, says, how can you guys punish me for something he's already punishing himself for? Nick felt thoroughly punished by his guilt. Of letting Gypsy manipulate him. He says she willed that knife into his hands. And see, it says, Go to John said that Gypsy asked him, how badly do you want to be with me? And I said I would be willing to do anything for you. I'd be willing to do anything. And Gypsy said, even kill my mom. See, this shows the lie that Gypsy said, would you protect me? This does not have the word protect me from my mom and the abuse in it. This article proves that Gypsy wasn't abused and the word protect wasn't in there. It says, how badly do you want to be with me? How badly do you want me? How badly do you want me to move in with you? And Go to John said, I'm willing to do anything to be with you. At first, I freaked out. And she told me she was serious because she wanted to be with me. And she said it was the only way to be with me was to unalive her mother. Where's the word protect? I don't see the word protect in there, Gypsy. There's no protecting this one. Nick doesn't remember you asking to protect you. He remembers you asking, do you want to be with me? Do you want me? There was no protect me, be my knight in shining armor. I asked her, are you willing to risk everything to have everything? And she said, yes, I want to marry you. I want to be with you. I want everything with you. I'm willing to risk everything if that means being with you for the rest of my life. Gypsy didn't really mean that. She didn't mean to marry Nick. She didn't love Nick. This was all manipulation. Gypsy says she doesn't know how their plans together escalated to murder. When right up here she says, even unalive my mom? I would talk about different scenarios to help me get out of my situation with them, and we would try and come up with something other than schmurder. It's sad to say, but I don't even remember how the schmurder plot even began. And we always said, that's the plan B. That's the last option. We're not going to do that. It was always on the back burner. Gypsy handed him the gloves, the knife, and the duct tape. They're still saying Gypsy hid in the bathroom. I'm waiting for one of these articles to say she wasn't in the bathroom. Toddy Oneskip found that article. I'm trying to find an article that says she wasn't in that bathroom. There's got to be one out there. She wasn't in that bathroom. She was helping. Or she did it the night prior. Because there was a blank half an hour or so where Nick couldn't get a hold of Gypsy when he got to Springfield. He got to Springfield on the 9th. And he even told the officer, he went out to get a soda and everything because he couldn't get a hold of Gypsy. And then all of a sudden she appeared. Because he got thirsty and everything while waiting. Like, okay, you honestly thought he wouldn't end up doing it? Okay. So if you didn't think Nick was going to do it, is that why you did it yourself? With Dan the night before? On the 9th? Is the half an hour that Nick couldn't get a hold of you because Dan was busy choking you and throwing you against the wall and making you clean up the mess that he made while unaliving your mom? Because we all know Nick didn't do that to you. Nick is about Gypsy's size. I don't see him choking and throwing Gypsy up against the wall. I do see Dan. I think the reason Dan is helping Nick as much as he can without admitting, because Dan isn't going to prison for life. So he ain't gonna, but I think Dan is helping Nick because he feels guilty because he knows. I think he knows what really happened to Dee Dee. Because Dan was there the night before, and per text messages, we know that Gypsy was with Dan and telling Nick, I'm going to sleep with Dan. I don't know why she felt the need to tell that to Nick. She could have done it and not even told him. So she's just really sadistic by telling Nick. All the planning, she did every bit of it. She pretty much willed the knife in my hand to commit the deed herself. She is the mastermind behind the entire thing. I love that. She pretty much willed, because Nick came to say, and Nick admits it himself, run away with me, Gypsy. Just go. Let's just go. Because, yeah, she could have got on that bus to Wisconsin. Dick didn't even need to come to Springfield. Gypsy could have got on a bus in the middle of the night herself. And Dee Dee would have been looking at Dan and everybody else's house and not the bus station for Gypsy. She could have got away on the bus. Gypsy said it was Go to John's idea. I guess it was not Go to John's idea. If it was Go to John's idea, well, I mean, it could have been his idea. You stole the knife. He said that was very good, that he was good with knives, and that he led me to believe that this was the painless option. No, it's not, Gypsy. You should have known it's not. Go to John's mother said he functions at a 15, 16-year-old level. Gypsy willed the knife in his hand, basically, as you saw earlier, and he went through with it because Gypsy told him this is the only way. Like he said, she willed that knife and said, "This is the only way, Nick. This is it. You gotta do it." He says he saved someone's life in the process of what he did. What? I mean, because he said Gypsy felt it was the only way to be with her. I mean, that's not really saving her life exactly. I don't know. And then Gypsy talks about how he very much he was very much like my mother in certain ways. Both of them were very controlling, and I feel like I was trained my whole life to do as I was told, and I feel like he wanted that for a girlfriend. As far as I'm concerned, she's as guilty as I am, Go to John said. I believe she needed to serve some time for what she made me do. Because Nick didn't take the plea deal because the plea deal was still life, but with a chance of parole in 30 years. And the chance that he would get out on parole, I don't know. Maybe with his guilt, I think he might have been able to get out on parole. Nick says he's thought about the relationship, and while torn, he still loves her. He says there's a part of me that will probably always love her, but she's hurt me so badly. I think that's where Ryan is too. Ryan's like, I will always love that girl. I will always have our memories. Ryan and Nick were both used, and now they're both feeling the same exact thing. Ryan is so hurt right now by the tattoos. Oh, yeah, this is where I was going to go into Gypsy's, why I'm calling it her Twilight era. Because don't even get me started on this subject, but I'm going down that road. Okay, the neighbors. Here's about the neighbors. This is about Aaliyah. After helping to debunk several other events in the act, like the terrifying computer smash, Aaliyah exclusively told In Touch there was no computer smash. So Aaliyah helped debunk the computer smash. Aaliyah knows the truth. There was no computer smash. There was no tying Gypsy to the bed. There was none of that. Right here, this article says it. Right here, this article is titled, How Did Neighbors Discover Dee Dee Blanchard's Murder? Aaliyah Woodmansey shares her story of that night, April 24th, 2019. Says right there, guys. Oh, whoops, sorry. I need to reshare the screen. Okay, so it's this article right there. They debunked the computer smash. Okay, the computer smash is now debunked according to this article, by the way. That did not happen. That's another lie of Gypsy's. So if the computer smash is debunked, then guess what's debunked? The 2 weeks of her being tied down by a dog leash, because that went hand in hand with the computer smash. So the Aaliyah goes on to say that she went to go to her mom's house because her niece broke her wrist and she went to take her out for ice cream, and all the neighbors were at Dee Dee's house. So she's also debunking the rumor that, because in the act, Aaliyah is the one who finds the Facebook post, gets a hold of her mother, drives over to her mother's house. Aaliyah did not discover that post. That post was discovered by the neighbors. And so she tells the story of taking her niece out to ice cream. She was trying to leave with her niece, but the cops stopped her and wanted to talk to her. Now, this is an interesting part that comes up. So everybody's jumping on their phones. They're calling the hospitals. Aaliyah's saying, call the movie theater. That's where Nick came into play. Because everybody's calling the movie theaters. They're calling the hospitals. They're calling everywhere that they frequent, except for the cars in the driveway. So they're not understanding this. Okay, I took the messages to one of the sheriffs on site and they took down his name. She had also mentioned a Wisconsin marriage license. Huh. Which helped to locate Nick. The marriage license is what located Nick and got his address for them to send the cops out to. I told them I figured it was a long shot. Dee Dee cut off my communication with Gypsy so long before then, and I didn't even know if she was still dating this guy. Years earlier, the mom had prevented the two girls from talking after discovery of her daughter's secret Facebook communications with Aaliyah. But the computer wasn't smashed. Honestly, at the time, I felt like things were all right and something had just come up. She told, mostly we were concerned that they had an emergency and had to leave town because of it. It was odd that they had even left the car, but Dee Dee's health was also declining. So here we go. We have confirmation from Aaliyah that at this point, Dee Dee was the severely sick one. Dee Dee's health was declining, and they knew that emergencies came up often for them too. Okay. I've always been able to keep a clear, cool head in intense situations, which is why I didn't react until early the next morning when a detective took me back to the house just after 1 a.m. It was only then that the seriousness of the situation sunk in, and much later that the full story of what happened between Gypsy and her mother came out. So this is a good article. This debunks a few things. There was no computer smash. There was no threatening. There was no, basically, probably this allegedly shows that there was no tying to the bed with the dog leash. See, this is what I'm keeping on doing. I'm not doing rumors. I'm not doing all that bull crap. I'm not spreading rumors. We're looking at newspaper articles and we're looking at facts of the case. We're trying to go back in time as much as possible. And so I bookmarked all of these articles to go back in time with you guys and get the details. Let's see. Why did I clip this article? Let me see what this one says. I don't think this one's a good one though. I mean, this one pretty much tells the same story that they told about Gypsy offering herself up because Nick was talking about raping the mom and everything. And I told you guys in an earlier video, there was a third Facebook post. I found out about that a long time ago. And because, first of all, Fancy did show she has the actual police file. And she showed where it says the third post. And then I watched the interview between the officer and Nick Godejohn's mother. And at the very end, as the mother was leaving, the officer says, "Did you see the 3 posts?" And she goes over all 3 posts. She literally says, so you hear from the officer's mouth herself if you watch the very end of the mother's interview. The officer says it herself. I showed that like way back a couple months ago. So if you want to see the officer say it for herself, hey, Devin, how you doing? I sent a friend to you, Devin. I hope they went and saw you because I know they would love the work you do. Because they like Halloween and stuff. I wish they were on right now to say hi to you. We're going to have to do a stream together once. It'll be fun just because you live around the corner and you can come over here and we should do a stream together. We should figure out a fun stream to do together. You guys, my friend, the Salt Lake City Leatherface, I worked with him like 10 years ago. We had a ton of fun. He was the best coworker you could ever ask for. We had so much fun. But yeah, this article is a very good article, you guys. So look it up. Look it up. it debunks the smashing of the computer because Aaliyah says that didn't happen. I've been trying to look up some of the things Aaliyah said because I heard, and have you guys heard this before? But somebody asked Gypsy, "Do you forgive Aaliyah?" And I guess she does. I don't know exactly what Aaliyah said. I'm trying to find out everything Aaliyah said because people are like, "Do you forgive Aaliyah?" And she has, and I think they're still friends to this day. But Aaliyah immediately started saying stuff. Like I said, debunking some of these lies after helping to debunk several events in the act. Aaliyah watched the act and debunked some of that show. There's a lot of articles from 2019 because in March of 2019, when the act came out, Gypsy's story really blew up. And so people started looking into it again. Things kind of went silent for a couple of years. There was Mommy Dead and Dearest, but not a lot of people watched Mommy Dead and Dearest. More people, I think, watched The Act. The Act garnered a lot of attention. So there you go. There's some debunking. Okay, do we want to get into this Twilight era? Because I have a lot to say about this, and I'll try and not. People say I get feisty sometimes. I'll try not to get feisty, okay? Because whenever I talk about, well, if you know what I'm talking about, Twilight, about to talk about those books, those movies. See, one of the things why. Oops. Oh. One of the reasons why I don't like what Gypsy's doing. So, everybody remembers way back in, what was it, 2009 or something, when Twilight came out? Everybody, my sister, all my sister in laws, my mother in law, everybody I was around loved those books. They do. They do. Now, I don't like to get into religious talk because I respect everybody's religion. Okay. And I don't want to say anything wrong about anybody's religion. I think people shouldn't really talk about religion, and when they mention other people's religion, they should be treading very carefully because you don't know who's in your stream and what religion they are. And so you should never ever put down somebody's religion. Now, when people put down religion, because I have been in streams lately where people constantly put down other people's religions, especially because a lot of crimes lately have been focused in the Mormon religion. Chad Daybell, the Ruby Frank, they are making the LDS Mormon religion look very bad. I felt that's what Stephanie Meyer did with her books. She was an LDS author. Oh, Pixel Pixie. Sorry. You are really knowledgeable on this. Sorry, Pixel. I didn't see you. I should have saw you over there. Oh, I was looking at my other screen. One of the reasons I hated the book was Stephanie Meyer wanted to write a vampire book, but she wanted it because Stephanie Meyer loved what's that show on HBO? that vampire one. I think it's HBO. Not the Vampire Diaries. Let me look it up real quick. Okay, vampire show? Because I can never remember this. True Blood. True Blood. Stephenie Meyer watched stuff like True Blood. However, being LDS, True Blood is not a good show. But when you deal with vampires, they don't have morals and ethics, okay? They don't. But Stephenie Meyer decided to give vampires morals and ethics. Which I was like, whatever, Stephenie, whatever. Go ahead, try and give vampires morals and ethics, whatever. And she's like, well, my characters didn't do anything, well, till they were married. And I'm like, dude, book 3 was a tease. And got everybody hot and bothered. Book 3 did. And the only reason why they didn't do anything is not because of Bella, your main character. It's because Edward kept saying no and pushing her off of him. And the love triangle was quite the love triangle was quite dirty little thing. I feel like, okay, so like, but then in book 4, when they finally get married, this is what I hate. And this is what our teens are reading. They're breaking beds. They're breaking houses. They're breaking crap. Because it is that good. And this is what I feel like Gypsy's doing. Gypsy's in her little Twilight era. She's got her love triangle. Because she's got Ryan. She's got her Ken. And she's got her Dee is Fire. And she's got her Sunny D. And, well, finally, thank you, Ryan, for coming out and saying you're done with Gypsy. Let the lawyers handle it. Good. Stick to that, Ryan. Get out of that love triangle because she's trying to do her Twilight era. But this is looking bad on our teens. And especially our community and our children with disabilities, guys. What if somebody's not a dynamo or fire or Sunny D or has complications because of their body? Not everybody's bodies are the same and act the same. Not everybody, one person can they and so in our community of young people and disabled people, this is a bad idea. This is a horrible way to look for a partner. This is a horrible quality to focus on. I know. People are always obsessed with sexual things. I believe that what happens behind closed doors is between the two people behind those closed doors. End of story. I don't believe you should be out there bragging. I don't know whether it's true or not. I don't know exactly what you mean by Dynamo and Fire D and see me, I've only been with like 2 people in this whole world. I've been married twice. And I have 4 sons and 1 daughter. And especially for my daughter, This is not the quality I want her to have on her checkoff list. This is not the quality I want for her to deem whether somebody's marriage quality or not. Because what if Ryan wasn't a dynamo? Would Gypsy have left him earlier? Would Gypsy have had another thing to complain to Christy about? I know that while Gypsy was in prison, they sent hot, steamy letters back and forth. That's the basis for what. I mean, Nick's parents even said they were bunnies. It's sad if this is Gypsy's only quality she looks for in life in a guy. And I think it's a bad influence on our youth. Not only her crime is a bad influence on our youth, she wants to have lunch with Jesus. Is she going to try and explain herself to Jesus? How are you going to explain yourself to Jesus? Because when Jesus sees all, Gypsy, you can't lie to him. You can try. You can try. It's sad if you try to lie to Jesus. But only Jesus knows 100% of the truth that happened to Gypsy and everything. And I don't think Jesus wants you to focus on that quality for marriage material. I think he probably wants you to have somebody with some morals and some ethics and some religion and a direction in life. And I don't think he wants you teaching your kids as they're growing up. So what kind of messed up my first husband was his mother was very sexual being. And she kept butting in our marriage. And it made me very nervous. And it made things very difficult. And having her in our heads when you're supposed to be being with your husband is not a fun thing. You didn't want her echoing in our heads all the time. And so, yeah, Gypsy's living out her Twilight era right now with her love triangle and who's fire and who's ice. Who breaks beds in houses. And I didn't like in book 4 also how Emmett and Rosalie were competing with Edward and Bella, who can break the most beds in houses on their honeymoon. this is the first vampire. Think back to all the vampire movies prior to Twilight. I don't know if I've ever seen a vampire even have relations. Really. Maybe Vampire Diaries? I don't know. I haven't seen that much of Vampire Diaries. Maybe in True Blood? I watched True Blood a long time ago, after I had read the Twilight books. And I realized, yes, this is where Stephenie Meyer got all her ideas for Twilight. She took True Blood and turned it into something that religious people could enjoy. Because she tried to give True Blood morals and ethics, which I found disgusting. Vampires, werewolves. If you want to really get into it, especially if you're religious, if you want to get into that battle, okay, if you're religious and you believe in the second coming and eternal life, then you believe that perseverance through life and persevering to the end, like Jesus speaks about in the Bible and stuff, will grant you eternal life. You just have to earn it. And I see vampires as a way to cheat that system that God and Jesus have set up. Because God and Jesus did not create vampires, they are of the devil. You can't make them religious. They are beings without morals and ethics and everything and rules and stuff. They defy life and logic. And they are a way to temporarily, because once again, if you believe in Jesus and you believe in the second coming, if you choose, say vampires are real, okay, say they are real just for a second, okay, say they are real, okay, and say you are LDS or Mormon, and you supposedly believe in eternal life, because when LDS people get married in the temple, they don't say till death do part. They say for all time and eternity, which means when you die, you're still married. If you want a divorce, there's two divorces in the LDS religion. You can get a earthly divorce granted to you, but you're still married eternally. You have to get a second type of divorce called a temple divorce. Unless you're a man, then you can have multiple wives. Women have to get a temple divorce if they want to marry somebody else for all time and eternity. Men can have multiple wives, though. But we're not going to go into that. I'm not going to talk about religion. I'm not going to go into that because I don't speak about other people's religions. I don't want to get things wrong. I don't want to upset people. I don't talk about religion. I'll talk about politics if you want me to. I'll step on that ground, which I try not to step on that ground. But I won't step on anybody's religion. I won't. Okay? That's just a no-no for me. But when you talk about these stupid Twilight books, you have to. So say you believe in eternity, okay? An eternal life. And a vampire comes up to you, and he's hot and cold at the same time, and offers you eternal life, and you take it. You just forfeited your eternity with Jesus. Okay? You just forfeited because you chose the devil's way out. The devil promised you eternity. Now, it is eternal life until, well, I mean, vampires can be killed, so it's not exactly eternal life. So, I mean, the devil, once again, is lying to you again because it's not eternal life. You still have to avoid death. You still have to avoid that. You still can be unalived as a vampire, okay? So, you're tricked in that point, okay? It's not eternal life because if you have eternal life, you cannot die. True eternal life. So when Jesus comes again for his second coming and grants you eternity, you literally have eternity. You can't die. You can't. You survived to the second coming and you were righteous, and now you're granted eternal life with Jesus. You literally have eternal life. However, if you fell for the vampire's eternal life, you just forfeited that other eternity you believed in. And so for a Mormon to write these books and to get Mormons to love these books, I was upset. Because the devil does lie. Vampires don't have eternal life. You've been tricked. Like usual, the devil always tricks you. Just like Gypsy Rose, her and her little love triangle. They're going to trick you into thinking their life is glorious and something to follow, and it's not. Promise you, Gypsy's life is not something to want. Gypsy's life is not something to follow. It's not something. It's not. It's not. And so, yeah, I'm calling this her Twilight era because she's out there fooling you, like Stephanie Meyer fooled a bunch of LDS people that you can love vampires and that vampires can be moral and ethical. I believe the supernatural. I like the show Supernatural. Vampires are just bad. They're not good. Did they even meet good vampires? I know they meet good werewolves. Because I remember what's his name gets turned into a werewolf and Sam and Demon like, we can't unalive our friend. They gotta let him be. Because that's their friend who accidentally got turned into a werewolf. Another fellow hunter who got turned into a werewolf. His name's on the edge of my head. Poor guy. But yeah, this is Gypsy's little Twilight era. She's got her love triangle and she's breaking beds with her Sunny D's. And she's bragging about it. And I don't appreciate it because you know what? It gives a false hope to people, and then people with disabilities and stuff and whatnot. What happens when they don't get their Dynamo or their Fire D or their Sunny D or whatever, and they tried to follow Gypsy and they didn't get what they can't find what Gypsy found. So there's multiple reasons why Gypsy is bad for our youth. Sir Morbid on his live went over it because she now is on YouTube. And they pulled up and showed receipts of comments of people saying, my mom is mean to me. Should I do the same thing? What do I do, Gypsy? Apparently, though, the advocate that Gypsy is supposedly has not responded to these comments. Thank gosh. Thank God. She hasn't responded to these. She hasn't said anything. Don't, Gypsy, just don't. Because even though your answer is don't unalive her, I don't think you actually know what to do when somebody has a bad mom. First of all, my first question to them would be, if you came to my stream and came to my Rosebud community and said that in my venting channel or something, my first question to you would be, what exactly do you mean by mean? What is your mom doing that you perceive as mean? Oh, she won't let me have the newest Nintendo. Okay, whatever. You know, is she actually being mean? Would be my first question to them. Tell me your story first. I wouldn't just flat out answer them. There is no flat out one straight answer to my mom is being mean. I would first say, tell me your story. I would probably get on a voice chat or something with them and be like, tell me your story. And I would advise them, I am not a counselor. I do not take the place of a counselor. I would advise them counseling, but I would just say, I am just a friend here for you to talk to, and I could give you, I guess, advice. Do I want to call it advice? Advice, I guess. However, my advice does not override your parents and does not override, you should probably go to counseling. But I know that everybody needs somebody to vent to. So that's what my Rosebud community is for. It's a place for you to vent your problem. And people all around the world will answer your question, because I have people in my community from all around the world of different ages that will answer your question. But we will not tell you what to do. And like I said, I'm not a licensed counselor. I just have a degree. I have training. I have life experience. But I am not your professional help. I am just a friend that you found to vent to, because everybody needs a friend to vent to. But we will steer you in the right direction and get you real help. We've tried to look into people's communities when they've come in with problems and be like, well, where do you live? What city do you live in? What's your community? And we've tried to find them community help. Because that's what we do. We'll look into your community. We'll see what we can do to steer you in the right direction, to head you in the right way. But no way, shape, or form take my advice like I am a counselor or God or something. I'm just a streamer. I'm just here to help. But there's multiple ways of handling your issues with your parents. So, yeah, I think that's all I wanted to say about Gypsy today. So, there you guys go. One thing we did do in the newspaper articles is debunk that laptop. Yeah, give it up for debunking that laptop. That laptop was never smashed, which means the 2 weeks being tied down possibly never happened, allegedly never happened, because if the laptop didn't happen, then the following, because first she smashed the laptops, then she tied Gypsy to the bed. So if she didn't smash the laptop, she probably didn't tie Gypsy down. And so, as per Aaliyah's words in the magazine article, debunked, dude. Debunked. Sorry, you're done with. You're debunked. That laptop never got smashed. So that's fun. We learned that one thing today. I will continue trying to look into older articles and stuff, see if I can find stuff. I'm trying to find what the neighbors said, because the neighbors are being quiet now. But they weren't quiet when everything first happened. They weren't. They were. See, the best time, that's why I'm trying to find these articles, is because when they first found out they were duped, oh, they were mad. And when people are mad, that is when the truth comes out. When somebody is angry because they got duped, you can sure bet that truth is the next thing they speak. Because they just let their emotions and their words fly. And that's what I'm looking for. I want to see those emotions and those words fly when they found out they were duped. Because they're also talking about, the cops are talking about finding out if Gypsy and her mom panhandled down the street too. So not only did they have these GoFundMes and all this other stuff up, they were panhandling their neighbors who are also in this is the Habitat for Humanity neighborhood. So everybody there has income problems too. I mean, how heartless you got to be, Dee Dee, to panhandle to your fellow Humanity for Habitat neighbors. Yo, they're also struggling too. Wow, she didn't care where she got her money. She just cared that she got her money, huh? But let's just keep looking into the case, guys. Quit focusing on the damn rumors. Because first of all, let me end with this, I guess. And I think I tried to end my last stream with this too, kind of. We might not like what Gypsy's doing. We might not like what she's showing our youth and everybody, and we might not like her lies, but we still have to respect her. If you know it's not true, don't state it. If she's pregnant, that's her business. I'll believe it when Gypsy comes out and says it. I think Nina's trying to. Nina was right about the Ken rumor. Okay, but pushing the pregnancy and the Steve rumor, she's trying to be like, see, I said it first. Telling a lie so that you can hope that it's true, so that you said it first. I would rather say it 10th and be right than have said it first and be wrong. and be found out as a liar. I'd rather be the 10th streamer that figured it out and streamed about it. When I stream and I talk about, like today, I talked about my idea of why I think Ken might have left her is because he didn't want to be caught cheating, because he's not going to stay. Ryan is a celibate type of guy. Ken, no, he's not. He's not a celibate type guy. He ain't going to stay celibate for 3 years for Gypsy. And he did not want the street. He did not want Gypsy's minions tracking him down at his bar and busting him cheating on his wife. Because, ooh, would Gypsy have the right to be so mad? So he did the right thing. He just went ahead and left Gypsy instead of rather be caught cheating on her. So yay, Ken. But you did the wrong thing by coming back and destroying her marriage. Okay? I praise you for doing the right thing. And just should have been honest with Gypsy and just say, look, not a celibate kind of guy. Bye. Ryan waited the 2 years. I believe Ryan waited the 2 years. Oh, and one of the things I was kind of wrong in my last video was I said that Ryan joked, it was bad that Ryan joked about his ex first. And then that's what got Gypsy to talk about Ken and Christy. I guess, see, this is the in-between stuff we don't see. They talked to Gypsy, the crew, and then they went out to lunch or something. And while they were out to lunch, Gypsy called Ryan, told him about the call with Christy. So when Ryan got home and joked about his ex, it's because he already knew about Ken. And that was Ryan's way. And see, this is where I was right, though. Ryan isn't controlling, guys. He handled it with a joke. He already knew about the call with Ken. So when he joked about his ex, and then Gypsy joked about Ken, I think Ryan handled things too jokingly with Gypsy. Not serious enough. They should have been getting count. Gypsy's counselor needs to be fired. I see this every stream. Fire that counselor. Get a new one. She obviously isn't doing her job. Because that counselor should be counseling both her and Ryan through this. Should have counseled both her and Ryan through this. Because they handled this too jokingly. Ryan handles things. I'm not a joking type person. Ryan is, though. He handles things with humor. I don't. That's okay. But, I mean, there's certain things that can be handled with humor, and there's certain things that should be handled with a little more seriousness, Ryan. And you handled this with too much humor. Going, nope, you talked about your ex. Get away from me, get away from me, get away from me. Joking with her down the hallway. Oh, wait, there was also something on there. I don't believe that Gypsy dreamed about Dee Dee. That was all for the show. I don't know if her PR or somebody told her to do that. Wake up in the middle of the night, film it. Because, of course, the film crew is not going to be at your house in the middle of the night. So you got to film this yourself, Gypsy. You got to film your nightmare. All she said was, I had a nightmare about my mom and the house and everything that happened. She didn't give any details. Once again, when she talks about her mom, she got mad at Patricia Arquette for portraying her mom, but she won't say why. She won't talk about her mom. But that article we read earlier, she said, my mom was my best friend and could do no wrong. Until she stopped Gypsy from dating and getting married and leaving the house. That's when Dee Dee could do wrong. And Gypsy, instead of just growing a pair, getting a bus ticket, and leaving herself at the point her mom was at. Everybody says, Fancy and everybody says that Dee Dee kicked, there's text message proof that Dee Dee kicked Gypsy out and said, go live with that boy in Wisconsin. She literally could have just left and led a secret life with Nick. But she wasn't in love with Nick. She was in love with Dan. Anxious aunt, they're looking further into Dan. They're trying to find out every little thing about Dan they can. I'm looking forward to seeing if they find out things about Dan. Gypsy did not have a nightmare because once again, what'd she do? She gave us the basics. My mom, the house, everything that happened. She didn't say any details about the nightmare. She just told us, oh, it's just about the case, basically. Just about the case. Okay, well, where's the details? You want people to think that this case is giving you nightmares. Let's ask your cellmates. Because of the video I just did about the comparison with, what's her name? Sarah McLean? Sarah McLean? She had nightmares in prison. That's why her prison inmate tried to help get her free. She saw that this girl really was abused and bothered and woke up screaming and thrashing in her sleep. And she had night terrors. She had true night terrors. Gypsy's just sitting there with a very plain look on her face going, I had a nightmare about my mom again. And the house. And everything I did. Well, what was the nightmare about? Give me some details, Gypsy. Quit giving me the basics. Give me some details. Give me some real details. Because you didn't. I don't think you dream about your mom. You haven't even shed a tear over your mom yet. You talk about the crime and you close your eyes a lot. And you look down and you pause and you think of what to say. You try and think of you're trying to remember your lie and just keep repeating the lie over and over and over again. My mom, the house, what we did. My mom, the house, what we did. My mom, the house, what we did. Well, what did you do, Gypsy? Because apparently, allegedly, you might have done the act. You made Nick think he did it. He might have unalived an unalived person, and he cried about it. And you just pulled up the phone and video to get him in an sexual mood. I don't believe she had a nightmare. I don't. I think that was all for show, all for stunt. I think a PR person asked her if she had nightmares, and of course she's gonna say yes. And they're like, well, if you have a nightmare, film it. It'd be good for the show, for people to see you're having nightmares. Apparently, maybe Ken solved all your nightmares. I don't think she had a nightmare. I just think that was a PR stunt. Because once again, lacking details. We're lacking anytime somebody mentions Gypsy's mom and tries to talk about Gypsy's mom, Gypsy just shuts him down and doesn't want to talk about her mom and her memories of her mom. And that's because her mom was her best friend until Dan came in the picture. And I don't know if I believe that Dee Dee called her a whore and a slut and all that, unless she was talking about Dan, but not Nick. Not Nick. I'm trying to find more proof that Dee Dee knew about Nick. besides the one magazine that Toddy one Skip read. There's got to be more proof out there that Aaliyah knew about Nick, but Dee Dee had cut off communication between Aaliyah and Gypsy, so maybe she wasn't there at those movie parties that Dee Dee bragged. Plus, I think Aaliyah was living at college at the time, living her own life, and so she wasn't there at those movie parties where Dee Dee would have been bragging in her last couple months of life about Nick, because she did meet Nick at the movie theater. She willingly took that picture of them together. And she was happy for Nick, not Dan. Nick. She was happy for Nick, not Dan. And so Dee Dee, Gypsy won't say why she doesn't like that what Patricia Arquette portrayed. She won't once again give any details because she won't talk about her mom. She'll just tell you, don't talk about my mom. You're wrong. Don't say that about my mom. You're wrong. But she won't give any details on her mom because she can't. Because they are best friends up until they thought about how Gypsy, I don't think Dee Dee was, like I said, in my opinion, I don't think Dee Dee was against Gypsy having a boyfriend and getting married. Like I said in a couple of months ago in a past video, Gypsy just wouldn't bring home anybody respectable. A 35-year-old married guy on drugs? Yeah, any mother, any good mother would have kept you the best that they could from dating somebody like that. That's on probation too. It's on probation, drugs, married, has kids. That's not a respectable man to bring home. But Dee Dee saw Nick as a respectable man to bring home. Like I said, I think Dee Dee wanted Gypsy and Nick to get married, and she was setting up the stage by bragging to the neighbors about Nick. She was setting up the stage for Gypsy. I bet she was planning Gypsy's wedding and how she was going to make Gypsy look beautiful in her wheelchair and everything, and how they were going to do it, and it was still going to be beautiful even though Gypsy wasn't literally going to walk down that aisle. But I bet Dee Dee had ideas on her daughter's wedding. And then they're like, they got to clean up their home because they got that 3 bedrooms that Nick can move his stuff in, because they have that 3rd bedroom. And especially if they move in and have a baby, they got that 3rd bedroom in case they have a baby. And Dee Dee would be there to help. I bet Dee Dee probably wanted to be a grandma. Nobody's talked about that about Dee Dee yet. Did Dee Dee want to be a grandma? Nobody's answered that question. Did she like Nick, and did she want to be a grandma? But is that what Gypsy didn't want? Gypsy didn't want to be a mother and taking care of her mother. And so she did, in a way, what Dee Dee did to her own mother. Dee Dee didn't want to be taking care of her mother either, with Gypsy around. She had her own daughter and she wanted to get on with her own life. She wanted to get back to stealing Rod from Christy. And I bet Dee Dee's mom was probably like, give up on Rod, go find somebody else. And I bet Dee Dee didn't like that her mom probably told her, go get somebody else. You don't need Rod. But Dee Dee was stubborn like Gypsy, had her eye on a married guy that she already had a baby with. But he wasn't ever really interested in her, and they were married, and he divorced her and left her. And she needed to move on from that divorce and find somebody else. I wish it was like in the act and that guy did find her, and I wish Dee Dee would have dated a guy and found her own man and got married and went with somebody else. Yeah, this is a long ending, sorry. Like a 20-minute ending. Yeah, because I forgot about that dream part. Like I said, I need to make notes when I have thoughts. Because I got these notebooks lying around the house for notes. I have all these notebooks lying around the house for game notes and like I said, I got this script that I'm getting ready. This is not a Gypsy one, but this another script I'm getting ready for you guys. We're gonna step off Gypsy for a second and don't see the name. Don't see the name. Maybe if you pause it, you might see it. You'll see my future case. It's a well-known one. You guys will want to hop in on it. It's a well-known one. I know maybe I'll do that soon. Maybe I'll do that soon. Gypsy's kind of dying down and getting boring, and that's why the pregnancy and the gay rumors are out. But you know what? You're upsetting two different communities. A community of people that can't have kids. I was starting to say this earlier, but I stopped. And a community where there really is people that are gay and bi and stuff, and you're using their community for a joke, for a lie, and for gossip, by the way. There are people that really do reside in these communities, and people who can't get pregnant and they don't want to see people like Gypsy that don't deserve kids have kids. I know what it's like. I couldn't have kids for 7 years. My mom actually thought I'd never have kids because I had problems as a teenager. I won't go into them, they're too personal, but my mom thought I'd never be able to have a kid. But I had one at 17, I had one at 19, and then I couldn't have them anymore. Not until I was 29 again. I was able to start having kids again at 29. I think I was 29. You blew me away. But I was part of that community for a while that watched everybody that was undeserving get pregnant and have kids. And it was heartbreaking because they were not deserving. And they were popping out babies left and right. And they were being bad parents. And I wanted to be a mom. I've always loved being a mom. I've always loved kids. I've babysat my whole life. I've always loved kids. I love my kids. I love every single one of them. I want to raise them. I want to be their mom. I want to see them grow up into good, respectable humans. And they're not going to have their Twilight eras. My daughter's not going to have no Twilight eras. She's not going to watch people like Gypsy and stuff. She's not going to read Twilight books. Let's see. But yeah, anyways, we'll go ahead and stop this. I think it's funny that anything, once Dee Dee's name comes up, Gypsy stops giving details. She'll tell you details about everything else, but she's not going to talk about her mom. Because I bet she got so frustrated in the end, and she was so sick and she was so frustrated with Gypsy that she realized Gypsy wasn't going to marry Nick and make her a grandma, and that she wasn't going to give up Dan. And I bet she just finally just was like, just go. Just get out of here. She's like, because you know what? When you're sick like Dee Dee and you're that sick, there's only so much you can deal with. And your daughter's 23, and the medical fraud and stuff, it's been over for years. She's got a little bit of a nest egg. She's got like $20K in that safe. She's got a house that she doesn't have to pay for. I bet she was like, I can figure something out. I bet Dee Dee was like, I'll figure something out. Or she figured maybe one day Gypsy would realize she's being stupid and come home to her. But the fact that I don't think she ever thought Gypsy was going to unalive her, because, and I'm boggled by why Gypsy said her last words were, don't hurt me. And I'm not dead yet. Those are two very awkward last phrases to say to your daughter, especially after you guys just got done painting your nails, watching a movie, and your best friends, then hugging each other and saying, I love you, should be a norm. The words, I'm not dead yet, and don't hurt me, usually don't follow, I love you, especially when you're best friends. All right, you guys, stay warm, stay safe, stay happy, stay loved, because you are. And thank you for coming and watching. Sorry, Pixel Pixies, I should have saw you earlier. But thank you for coming in and saying hi. I need to watch my chat a little bit better. People don't come in and chat. And so sometimes I get used to it. People not coming in and chatting. And I just stopped checking chat. Stupidly. But I will promise I will check chat more often. Love you guys. Stay safe out there. Don't follow Gypsy's Twilight example, okay? Don't go read Twilight if you don't know it. Just don't. Go watch True Blood.